You ever felt like the world moved on without you? Like everybody's running a race and you haven't even found your shoes yet? Let me tell you something that might just change your life. You are not late. You're not too old. You're not too young. You're not behind. You're not out of time. That's a lie the world whispers when you're tired, when you're scared, when the weight of your dreams feels too heavy to lift. But let me ask you, who sets the clock on your destiny? Is it them, society, some timeline someone else made up? Or is it you, your journey, your pace, your fire? Greatness doesn't punch a time clock. Purpose doesn't check your birth certificate. You think success only comes to the young. Colonel Sanders didn't fry up Kentucky Fried Chicken until he was in his 60s. Vera Wang didn't design her first dress until 40. So tell me again, you're late. No, you're seasoning. You're building. You're rising. Some things take time because you're being prepared to carry something big. Let me give it to you straight. Delay is not denial. Sometimes God slows you down so the path can clear up ahead. Sometimes rejection is just redirection. Sometimes the wait is a gift. Because when your moment comes you won't walk into it half-baked. You'll walk in with fire, with wisdom, with everything you've been through fueling your steps. So if you're still breathing, still dreaming, still fighting, trust me, you are not late. Most people live their lives with a clock ticking in the back of their minds. A mental stopwatch that tells them when they should have graduated, when they should have gotten that dream job, when they should have found love, started a family, launched a business, or hit that $1 million mark. This ticking doesn't come from within. It's often passed down, picked up, borrowed from someone else's expectation. Society, family, social media, everyone has a timeline, and if you don't match it, if you fall even one step behind, it starts to feel like you've failed. But here's the truth. There is no universal timeline for success. That idea is a myth, a polished, photoshopped illusion fed to us by a world obsessed with deadlines, age benchmarks, and milestones. Let's break this idea down. Some people graduate college at 22 and don't find a job they love until they're 35. Others drop out at 19 and build a global business by 25. Some marry their high school sweetheart and stay together forever. Others meet the love of their life after a divorce in their 40s. Some become parents at 20. Others at 45. Who's right? Who's ahead? Who's behind? Nobody, because they're living on their time. And you are meant to live on yours? You see, the danger of believing in a one-size-fits-all timeline is that it makes you rush. It makes you panic. You start running not because you're inspired, but because you're afraid. You accept jobs you hate. You stay in relationships that dim your light. You suppress your dreams because they don't fit the plan someone else drew for you. You choose safety over purpose because you think your time is up. But success, true, fulfilling, deeply rooted success has no schedule. It shows up when preparation meets opportunity. It shows up when your soul is aligned, your heart is ready, your mind is clear, and your calling is louder than your fear. Think about nature. A rose doesn't bloom at the same time as a sunflower. A mango tree doesn't bear fruit in the same season as an apple tree. Yet we never look at one and say, you're late. No, we understand that every living grows at its own pace, and when the time is right, it's time it blossoms in full glory. Why then do we treat ourselves any differently? Every delay you've experienced, every detour you've taken, every chapter that didn't end how you wanted, it's all part of your timeline, not a deviation from it. Some people have to go through fire early so they can lead others later. Some people need time to unlearn, to heal, to find themselves before they can find their purpose. The experiences you think are slowing you down may be the exact ones building the depth, resilience, and character that your future requires. And without that depth, even if success arrived tomorrow, you wouldn't be ready to carry it. Look around and you'll see stories everywhere. Writers who published their first book in their 50s. Entrepreneurs who struggled for decades before building an empire. Artists, actors, inventors, visionaries, people who were once counted out because they didn't peak in their 20s. But now the world calls them legends, icons, masters of their craft. Not because they were early, but because they were ready. Their greatness didn't expire because it was delayed, it matured, it evolved, it became undeniable. Here's another layer to this. When we're so focused on when we're supposed to arrive, we miss what's happening in the present. We miss the lessons, the relationships, the growth that's unfolding right now. We become blind to the quiet miracles happening in real time because we're too busy staring at a clock. And the irony is, the more we compare ourselves to others' timelines, the more we distract ourselves from doing the very work that leads to real success. You were never meant to be anyone else, and your path was never meant to look like theirs. The pressure to arrive by a certain date is an illusion, a trap, a distraction, because you can't rush alignment. You can't fast forward through growth. You can't download wisdom in a zip file. The people who look like overnight successes, they weren't overnight. You just didn't see the 1,000 nights of grinding, of failure, of doubt, of lonely work behind the scenes. And that's okay. That's how it's supposed to be. You are not on the wrong path. You are not late. You are not forgotten. You are becoming in your own time, in your own rhythm. And when it's your time, when all the pieces lock into place, it won't matter who got there first. It will only matter that you arrived as your full self, complete, ready, and undeniable. Just because something hasn't happened for you, yet doesn't mean it never will. Delay is not denial. That's a truth a lot of people hear, but very few really believe, especially when they're standing knee-deep in disappointment, watching other people cross finish lines they haven't even reached yet. It's hard, isn't it? Waiting, watching, wondering if all the energy you've been pouring into your goals is actually going to pay off. You apply. You try, you show up. You give your best. And somehow it still feels like you're getting passed over, looked over, forgotten. But let me tell you something that might just change how you see your season of waiting. Not getting what you want right now does not mean it's not coming. In fact, sometimes the waiting is exactly what you need. There are things you think you're ready for that would actually crush you if they came too soon. See, there's a kind of grace in the delay, a protection, a preparation. If you got the thing you're praying for today, could you actually handle it? Could you sustain it? Could you keep it, grow it, multiply it without letting it break you? That's the real question. A lot of people want success, but they don't want the process that makes them strong enough to carry that success. They want the spotlight, but they haven't built the character to stay grounded once it shines on them. They want love, but they haven't healed from the things that would sabotage a real relationship. They want the business, the house, the stage, the influence, but they haven't learned how to manage pressure, how to bounce back from failure, how to lead with integrity. That's why delay is not a punishment. It's a chance to grow roots before you start growing branches. Think about it like this. When a seed is planted, it doesn't bloom immediately. First, it goes underground. First, it breaks. First, it grows downward before it's downward, before it ever grows upward. It sits in the dark, unseen, untouched, quietly developing. And to the outside world, it looks like nothing is happening. But everything is happening. Foundations are being laid. Strength is being built. That's the delay. But the bloom, that comes later. That comes after the roots are deep enough to support the weight of what's coming. It's the same with you. You're being rooted. You're being shaped. You're being made ready. And let's talk about timing for a second. There's a difference between your timing and the right timing. You might think you're ready because you're eager, because you're tired of waiting, because you've been through a lot already. But readiness isn't about impatience, it's about alignment. It's about everything coming together in a way that allows you not just to arrive, but to thrive when you do. Sometimes a no isn't really a no, it's a not yet. And if you walk away from something because it didn't come fast enough, you might be walking away from the very thing that was coming to meet you. People love to talk about closed doors. They assume if something didn't work out, it means it wasn't meant for them. But sometimes the door isn't closed. It's just locked because the timing isn't right. You don't have the key yet. And if you try to force it open too soon, you'll find yourself in a room you weren't ready to walk into. So instead of seeing delay as rejection, see it as redirection. See it as a signal. Wait here. Something is being built for you, and you're being built for it. You might be watching your friends level up. Promotions, engagements, followers, success. And you wonder, what about me? Why not me? Am I behind? Did I miss it? No, they are on their path. You are on yours. This isn't a race. This isn't about who gets there first. It's about who shows up fully prepared when it's their moment. Some of the greatest breakthroughs in history didn't happen instantly. They came after years of preparation. They came after seasons of silence. They came after failure, doubt, heartbreak, setbacks, and second chances. But when the moment came, it was clear why the delay was necessary. What looked like a setback was actually a setup. What felt like the end was actually the beginning of something much bigger. You don't see it now. You're not supposed to. That's what faith is for. That's what trust is for. And if you really think about it, most of the lessons that shaped you didn't come from things going your way. They came from the things that didn't. They came from the delay, the long nights, the rejections, the detours. And now, you're wiser, you're stronger, you've got experience you never would have gained if everything worked out on the first try. That's not failure. That's refinement. So when the voice is creeping, telling you you're falling behind, telling you you're not enough, telling you to give up because it's taking too long, remember this. Delay is not denial. It's timing, it's growth. It's preparation for something bigger than what you asked for. We live in a world that worships youth, a world that flashes images of billionaires under 30, Olympic athletes in their teens, influencers with millions of followers before they can legally rent a car. The message is everywhere. If you haven't made it by a certain age, you're behind. If your dreams haven't materialized by 25, maybe they never will. But that message is false. It's misleading. It's dangerous. Because age is not a limitation, it's a detail. It's a number. It's not the measure of your worth, your potential, or your destiny. Some of the most powerful, world-changing things have come from people who didn't start on time. They started when it was right for them. We've been conditioned to believe that youth is the prime time for everything: success, adventure, discovery, reinvention. But what they don't tell you is that clarity, wisdom, depth, and strength often come with time. You might not have had your big moment in your 20s, and that's okay. That doesn't disqualify you. If anything, it qualifies you more. Because by the time you do step into your moment, you've seen some things. You've lived. You've been through failure, heartbreak, false starts, disappointments. You've grown into someone who can carry more than just a title. You can carry purpose. Look at the stories history tells us. Colonel Harlan Sanders didn't found KFC until he was in his 60s. He failed over and over before that: jobs, ventures, everything. But he kept going. Julia Child didn't write her first cookbook until 50. Stan Lee didn't create the Marvel Universe as we know it until he was nearly 40. Vera Wang didn't become a fashion icon until after 40. Morgan Freeman didn't land a major role until he was well into his 50s. These people didn't miss their chance. Their chance came when it was supposed to. When they were prepared. When life had seasoned them into who they needed to be. The truth is, some dreams take longer to cook. Some callings need maturity to handle. You might not be ready for what you think you want until you've gone through the things that shape your character. If you're 30, 40, 50, even 60, and you haven't arrived yet, guess what? You're not behind. You're just not done yet. And age. Age is simply the amount of time life has been teaching you. Every year is a lesson. Every decade is a chapter. And the longer the book, the deeper the story. What we need to stop doing is looking at someone else's timeline and measuring our value against it. Just because someone built a business by 25 doesn't mean your path is invalid. Just because someone got married at 22 doesn't mean you're behind if you're still single at 40. And just because someone found their purpose early doesn't mean yours isn't still unfolding. You're not less capable because your timing is different. You're not late. You're layered. You've got layers of experience, of truth, of pain, of joy, of wisdom that someone younger may not have yet. And those layers, they're what make you powerful. There's a beauty to achieving something when you've lived a little. You don't take it for granted. You don't let ego lead. You understand what matters. You're not chasing validation, you're chasing meaning. That's the kind of success that lasts. That's the kind that transforms lives, not just bank accounts. And let's be honest, some people get success too early and lose it just as fast because they weren't ready. Because their character didn't match their platform. Because their maturity couldn't sustain what their ambition built. But when you grow into it, when you've been through the storm, the waiting, the grind, you're not just successful, you're solid. Age brings gifts that youth cannot give: perspective, patience, resilience, emotional intelligence, the ability to see past the hype and focus on the heart of the matter. And if you're older and still chasing your dream, know this: you bring something to the table that younger people haven't had time to build yet. You've got history. You've got roots. You've got fire that's been tested. And that fire, it doesn't burn out, it burns brighter with time because it's not based on impulse. It's based on purpose. Don't ever let the noise of age shame you into silence. Don't shrink your dream because the world says it's too late. The world is wrong. Timing is personal. Destiny doesn't come with an expiration date. Whether you're 20 or 70, if the vision is still in you, if the hunger is still alive, then the story is still unfolding. Some flowers don't bloom in spring, they bloom in late summer. But when they bloom fully, beautifully, and unapologetically. But what if the rejection you're facing isn't meant to destroy you, but to redirect you? What if what looks like a closed door is actually divine protection? What if rejection is not the end of the road, but a fork leading you to something better, something bigger, something more aligned with who you are truly becoming? Most of us are taught to see rejection as a negative sign, a red light, a dead end. But in reality, rejection is often just a course correction. You were aiming for one thing, but life knew you were meant for something else. Something that required you to walk a different path, even if you didn't see it yet. You thought that opportunity was the destination, but it was just a rest stop. You thought that person was your forever, but they were just a lesson. You thought that door was the door, but it was only one of many, and the right one wasn't open yet because it wasn't your time to walk through it. Rejection is a mirror. It shows you what you want, but also reveals what you need to work on. Sometimes it's not that you're unworthy, it's that you're not ready. Not yet. That relationship didn't work out because you hadn't yet become the person capable of sustaining the love you desire. That job didn't go through because the skills you'll need in your next season haven't been built yet. That project got turned down because your idea was good, but your mindset still needed to grow. You were thinking too small, playing it too safe, limiting your vision. So the rejection didn't come to stop you, that came to stretch you. There's pain and redirection. That's real. Let's not sugarcoat it. When you give something your all and it still doesn't go your way, it hurts. It makes you want to shrink, to hide, to give up. But here's what people don't always say out loud: pain is a compass. It points you toward the areas of your life that need attention, healing, development. Rejection can trigger those insecurities buried deep down, those old wounds you never fully addressed. And maybe that's the point. Maybe the rejection is what wakes you up, forces you to go deeper, makes you ask, what am I really made of? What do I really want? Who am I becoming in this process? There's wisdom in every no. Sometimes that no is protection from a toxic relationship, a dead-end job, a path that would have drained you. Sometimes that no is a gift that doesn't feel like one until later. You look back 6 months, a year, 5 years down the line and realize, wow, if I had gotten what I thought I wanted, I would have missed this. That's how redirection works. It doesn't always make sense in the moment. It often feels cruel, random, unfair. But later, when you're standing exactly where you were meant to be, it all clicks. You realize that rejection wasn't rejection, it was mercy. It was guidance. It was grace wearing a disguise. Every great story has chapters of rejection. Think about the people we admire, the visionaries, the leaders, the artists. Almost all of them were told no at some point. Oprah was told she wasn't fit for television. Walt Disney was fired for lacking imagination. J.K. Rowling was rejected by a dozen publishers. These weren't just little setbacks, they were moments that could have ended everything if they had believed the no was final. But they didn't. They used rejection as fuel, as information, as redirection. You don't have to love rejection. Nobody does. But you can learn to respect it, to see it differently, to ask better questions when it shows up, not why me, but what is this trying to teach me? Not what's wrong with me, but what's next for me? That shift in thinking changes everything. It takes you from a victim of circumstances to a student of life. And once you start thinking that way, rejection loses its power to paralyze you. It can still hurt, but it won't halt you. It can bruise you, but it won't break you. Because now you understand that every no is either a nudge toward a better yes or a test to prepare you for one. And let's be honest, some of the best things in your life wouldn't have happened if the first plan had worked out. You wouldn't have discovered what you're capable of. You wouldn't have built that level of resilience. You wouldn't have pushed yourself the way you did if everything had gone smoothly. That's the paradox. Rejection closes some doors, but it opens parts of you that would have stayed locked otherwise. Parts that are stronger, braver, wiser. Parts that learn how to keep walking even when the road changes. Parts that trust, even when the map doesn't make sense yet. Some of the most powerful growth you'll ever experience happens in silence. In the seasons where nobody's clapping for you, no spotlight, no recognition, no applause. Just you, the work, and the long hours that make it feel like you're building something that no one will ever see. But here's the truth, just because nobody sees the work you're doing doesn't mean it's not valuable. Just because your name isn't being mentioned doesn't mean your progress isn't real. You don't need a crowd to validate your grind. Sometimes the most significant transformations happen when it's just you in the process, when it's quiet, when it's lonely. That's when the real shaping happens. It's easy to feel overlooked in this era of constant broadcasting. Social media has created this illusion that if people don't see you winning, you must not be winning. If you're not posting, you must not be progressing. But that's not real life, that's just a highlight reel. In real life, growth is messy. It's private. It's internal. It's a series of battles no one claps for, breakthroughs no one knows about, and healing that takes place in rooms where you sit by yourself and decide to keep going anyway. There's dignity in doing the work no one sees. There's power in staying committed when no one is cheering. Think about it. A tree doesn't grow tall by announcing every inch it rises. Its roots grow in silence, beneath the soil, out of sight, deep, steady, consistent. If the roots don't grow strong enough, the tree can't handle the storm. If all you have is surface level growth, loud, fast, shallow, you'll get knocked over the moment life hits hard. But if you've been building in silence, if you've been investing in your character, in your skills, in your spirit without needing an audience, you'll be ready when the wind comes, and it will come. But so will your season. And when that season arrives, all the work you did when nobody was watching is what will sustain you. There's something sacred about the grind behind the curtain. It builds a different kind of confidence. Not arrogance, not flash, but a quiet knowing, a steadiness, a sense that you don't need to be validated by others because you already know what you're made of. You've seen yourself show up day after day. You've watched yourself push through doubt, fear, and fatigue. You've been there for your own becoming. That's a powerful place to be, because when the recognition does come, if it ever does, it won't define you. It'll just reflect what you already knew. You were worthy long before anyone noticed. Let's talk about patience. Patience isn't just about waiting, it's about what you do while you wait. Are you still showing up when the results are slow? Are you still working on your craft when no one's watching? Or are you still keeping your vision alive when everyone else seems to be sprinting ahead? That's where the separation happens. That's where growth takes root. Not in the moments of excitement, but in the consistency of discipline. In the commitment to yourself, your dream, your standard, regardless of who's watching. And here's something you have to understand. Silence doesn't mean stagnation. Just because things are quiet doesn't mean they aren't moving. Some of the most powerful shifts in your life are happening beneath the surface. Healing takes place in silence. Mindset shifts happen in silence. Ideas form, resilience grows, foundations are built all in silence. So when things feel still, don't mistake that for being stuck. Stillness is part of the process. Stillness is where clarity is born. That space between where you were and where you're going, it's sacred. It's uncomfortable, yes, but it's necessary. Most people want to be seen before they've done the inner work. They want the stage before they've built the strength to stand on it. But when you let the quiet season shape you, you'll carry something deeper. You won't be swayed by every opinion. You won't need to perform to feel worthy. You'll know who you are. You'll know what matters. And when your moment comes, you won't just show up, you'll be ready. There's a reason why the spotlight comes after the struggle, because the struggle is where you find your voice. It's where you learn to trust yourself. It's where you discover what you're really about. And the beauty is, once you walk that path in silence, once you've pushed through the doubt and the darkness without needing applause, you become unshakable. Your validation isn't dependent on views or likes. Your worth isn't tethered to trends. You are rooted, grounded, built from the inside out. So even if no one's watching, even if no one's clapping, keep going, keep building, keep writing, training, designing, studying, praying, practicing. You're not invisible. You're just in a sacred season. And sacred seasons don't come with fanfare, they come with formation. They come with depth. They come with truth. Let the silence do its work. Let it refine you. Because when it's your time to be seen, you won't just be another face in the crowd. You'll be someone who was forged in the quiet. Someone who didn't need noise to become powerful. Someone who let the hidden seasons build something the world couldn't ignore. Comparison is a thief. It sneaks in quietly, dressed like ambition, pretending to motivate you, pretending to help you level up. But really, it's stealing your joy, your confidence, your peace. One scroll through social media, one conversation with someone who seems further ahead, and suddenly you're doubting everything about your life. Suddenly your progress feels too slow. Your wins feel too small. You start measuring your worth not by what you've done, but by what someone else has posted, shared, flaunted. But here's the truth: comparison will kill your spirit if you let it. Because it's not a fair fight. You're comparing your real life with all its complexity against someone else's curated moment. And that's not truth, it's distortion. You can't build a meaningful life while constantly staring at someone else's blueprint. Their purpose isn't yours. Their pace isn't yours. Their path isn't yours. You weren't born to be a copy. You were born to be a creation. Unique. Unrepeatable. And your journey, your timing, your process, it's sacred. But the more you compare, the more you disrespect your own assignment. You dilute your own identity by chasing someone else's lane. And the moment you do that, you lose your power. Because now you're living for approval, for likes, for recognition, not for truth. You don't know what it took for someone to get where they are. You see the glory, but not the grind. You see the moment, but not the years behind it. That overnight success, probably 10 years in the making. That polished image, probably hiding a storm you couldn't survive. That big win, maybe came after 100 quiet failures. So when you compare, you're comparing from the outside. But growth, real growth happens inside, and nobody posts that. Nobody shares their breakdowns in high resolution. Nobody uploads the anxiety, the doubt, the nights they cried themselves to sleep wondering if they were good enough. But it's there. Always. Every story has chapters you'll never read, and it's dangerous to judge your life by a book you haven't even seen the full version of. You have to learn to love your own process. Love your pace. Love the way you are unfolding, even if it looks nothing like anyone else. Because life isn't a race. It's not about who gets there first, it's about who arrives whole, who shows up rooted, who shows up honest, who shows up true to themselves. And that doesn't happen when you're too busy keeping score. It happens when you go inward. When you decide to focus more on being aligned than being admired. When you shift your eyes from what everyone else is doing to what you were born to do. There's power in authenticity. There's peace in staying in your lane. When you stop comparing, you start creating. You start tapping into your own ideas, your own story, your own story. And that's where the magic lies. Not in imitation, but in originality. Not in matching someone else's pace, but in mastering your own. That's where fulfillment comes from. Because you're not running someone else's race, you're honoring your own journey. We live in a world obsessed with metrics. Followers' views, like salaries, achievements. But none of that can measure peace. None of that can measure purpose. You can be successful in the world's eyes and still feel empty. You can hit every milestone they told you would make you happy and still feel lost if it's not aligned with who you really are. But comparison will make you chase things that don't belong to you. It'll make you want what looks good, not what feels good. It'll make you abandon your own joy just to keep up with someone else's version of success. You were never meant to keep up. You were meant to stand out, to evolve at your own speed, to walk through your own fire, to bloom in your own season. So if someone else is ahead, bless them. Cheer for them. But don't let it shake you. Don't let it make you question your own timeline, because you don't know what they're carrying. You don't know what it cost them. And you don't need to know. What you need to know is you, your values, your goals, your why. Every time you compare, you shrink. But every time you focus on your lane, you grow. You build confidence that's not based on competition, but on clarity. And clarity is everything. It lets you move without fear. It lets you make decisions that honor your truth, not someone else's expectations. It lets you sleep at night knowing you're not living a performance, you're living your purpose. And that's rare. That's powerful. That's the kind of life that doesn't need to be validated because it's already valuable. There is something deeply powerful about owning your story, the whole story. Not just the polished chapters, not just the highlight reels, not just the parts that are easy to share in a conversation or on a stage. No. The messy parts. The broken parts. The parts you thought disqualified you. The mistakes you prayed no one would ever find out about. The seasons where you felt lost, where you didn't recognize yourself in the mirror, where you almost gave up. That's your story too. And the moment you stop running from it, the moment you stop hiding it behind filters and half-truths, you begin to reclaim your power. Because healing doesn't come from pretending, it comes from owning. We live in a world that tries to edit pain. People cut it out of their narratives, erase it from their timelines, cover it up with success. But pain is part of the journey. Struggle is part of the process. You can't become who you were meant to be without walking through some fire. You can't grow strong without being stretched. You can't discover your resilience until you've had to rise from something that tried to break you. So why do we hide those parts? Why do we feel like we have to clean up our past just to be worthy of the future? You are not your past, but your past is a part of you. And when you deny it, when you act like it never happened, you rob yourself of the wisdom it gave you. Every wrong turn, every heartbreak, every failure taught you something. Maybe it taught you who not to be. Maybe it showed you what you will never settle for again. Maybe it exposed a wound that needed healing, or revealed a strength you didn't know you had. There's gold in your pain, but you have to dig for it. You have to be willing to revisit those parts of your life, not to dwell in them, but to redeem them. Some people carry shame for things they've long since outgrown. Shame is heavy. It whispers that you're not enough, that if people really knew you, they'd turn away. But the truth is, people don't connect with perfection, they connect with honesty, with vulnerability, with courage. When you tell the truth about what you've been through, you give others permission to do the same. You become a mirror, a reminder that they're not alone. In a world where so many people feel unseen, unworthy, not good enough, your story might be the light they need. And let's be clear, owning your story isn't about putting all your business in the streets. It's not about living in the past or glorifying the struggle. It's about acknowledging it. It's about standing in the mirror and saying, yeah, I went through that. Yeah, I made those choices. Yeah, I got hurt. I fell. I failed, but I got back up. I learned. I grew and I grew. And I'm still here. That's strength. That's power. That's real. You stop waiting for someone else to validate you because you've already done the hardest work. You've accepted yourself. Self-acceptance is where everything changes. When you stop trying to be who people want you to be and start embracing who you really are, you become unstoppable. You stop shrinking. You stop second-guessing. You stop apologizing for your presence. And it doesn't mean you're perfect. It means you're real. It means you've made peace with your journey. And when you make peace with your journey, you start walking in your purpose with a different kind of confidence, a quiet strength, a deep knowing. You become someone who has been through some things, but didn't let those things define you. Everyone's story has some darkness, some pain, some detours, some regrets. But that's what makes it beautiful. The cracks are where the light gets in. The healing begins when you stop running from the truth and start learning how to live with it. Grow from it. Let it fuel your next chapter instead of haunt your last one. Because the only difference between a wound and a scar is time and attention. A wound hurts. A scar reminds. A scar says, I've been through something, but I made it. And every scar in your life carries a testimony. A reminder that you're stronger than what tried to break you. So don't wait to be perfect before you step forward. Don't wait to have it all together before you share your voice. I don't believe the lie that your past disqualifies you. If anything, it qualifies you because you've seen life. You felt pain. You've gotten back up when it would have been easier to quit. That's something no textbook, no degree, no amount of followers can teach. That's lived experience. That's wisdom. That's authenticity. And when you lead from that place, when you speak, move, build, create, connect from a place that has been forged in truth, you stop chasing approval and start creating impact. You stop performing and start transforming. You no longer walk around hiding your scars. You walk around wearing them like medals, not because you're proud of the pain, but because you're proud of the healing. And healing is the most courageous thing you'll ever do. It's not loud. It's not flashy, but it's powerful. So remember this, your journey isn't defined by how fast you move or how soon you arrive. It's defined by the courage to keep going, the strength to stay true to yourself, and the faith to believe that your time is coming no matter what anyone else says. Trust in your process, embrace your story, and hold fast to your persistence. You are exactly where you need to be. And it's never too late to rise, to shine, and to claim the life waiting for you. Keep moving forward. Your moment is closer than you think.